Hello, humans. Did you get water? Wagwa?
I got yellow water.
Gatorade?
Lemonade. Mine tastes like yellow.
You can say that in 2023, but if you were to say that in 1053 BCE, then, well, you might just have some bad river water.
It's true.
Or you might have a particular deposit of minerals in your water that gives you some kind of spiritual eminence because it's, I don't know.
Well, on that note, I'd like to welcome everyone to the podcast because it's been recording the whole time.
Well, hello.
That's how we're going to enter into this episode today.
Yeah.
So, welcome everyone. I don't remember what episode it is. I believe we're on 60, actually. No, are we on 60? Might be on 60 now.
60 or 61.
It's one of the two. I never remember anymore. I don't make it on myself to count because,
Yeah.
But anyways, I think we should start off. Oh, Tony's taking a drink, so Grant gets to go first. What are you reading? I hate it here. I'm gonna go jump off the roof.
Yes, Grant, what are you
Oh, thank
reading?
you. I just finished a sip. So now I can speak.
Yes, yeah,
Go home.
I am reading Always Crashing in the Same Car by Lance Olson.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Is this a different, like, other than what?
He's out of the classics, so.
Whoa!
Oh, you know what?
Oh.
That's
Is it an alarm? Okay.
Keep it in the podcast.
Keep it in the podcast.
Yes, that's what the building's getting renovated. Not the building, but some work is being done on the building, and they do this right before they leave, just to be sure that everything's all Gucci.
So for humans who aren't aware right now, we're getting our sprinkler system fixed, so congrats. You are now involved in our secret...
Not so secret if you have kids and you come up to the youth services department, but like, yeah.
I don't know.
Joke's on us. It's an actual
But
fire. We're in the basement.
We're in the basement. So is Lance Olson like a different author than what Grant normally goes for?
No, I've read a book from him before.
Okay, so what's this one about, and
so-
what is it?
Yes. So this one follows David Bowie.
David Bowie?
I'm sorry.
What?
It follows David Bowie in the last 6 months of his life.
Okay.
And
What happened in the last 6 months of his life? Granted, I don't...
he was dying of cancer.
Oh, right.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to realize I don't know a lot about
Okay.
pop culture, even though I like to say I do.
So David Bowie is the protagonist of this novel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
Does he go to Fairyland?
No.
Does he go to therapy?
So okay. So the last book of Lance Olson's that I read, Dream Lives of Debris, which I mentioned briefly on the podcast.
Right.
Similar to that one, this is a very fragmented novel where you're.
Oh, this is very you.
Like from paragraph to paragraph, you're jumping, decades and stuff as he's. As David Bowie is reflecting on his life and career,
As
and
he does.
his regrets and all that stuff, and it definitely fits with, somebody who changed their persona so frequently. You're jumping into.
He really did change his persona a lot.
No, and I mean he's kind of my favorite artist ever, so that's a reason
so
why
this
I'm
was
reading
gonna
this.
get you the-
So it was
yeah.
good. I was probably going to enjoy it either way, but it is a very good book. Sorry. the desire for lemonade is intensifying by the second.
Okay. So, who's the author again? Remind me.
Lance Olson.
Lance Olson. Is that Olson spelled Olsen?
Yes, it is.
Oh, all right.
I guess it would help if you knew about him or his music, but
Like Bowie. Okay.
you don't have to.
Okay.
All I know is Labyrinth, and that's it. I'm sorry.
No,
Though I think I know a few songs, but I'm just...
Yeah, I don't think Labyrinth has been mentioned yet, but who knows? It might be in the future.
Hey, Tony, what are you reading? I have to go last because I have a segue, so...
Other than this body text message.
I can tell you're really interested in this text message.
No, I was actually looking things up on Goodreads, but then, Anyway, what am I reading? So, I am actually still reading the sequel. Wait, what?
No,
No, not
keep
the
going.
text. The sequel to He Who Fights with Monsters.
Okay.
So I was told something recently about that series, which actually makes it easier to read it than...
Okay.
Because when I first started the second book, I was kind of like, all right.
Oh, it's tough.
It's continuing. Because the first book ends,
Right.
and you kind of know that it's going to end around that point because of the way that, there's a whole battle scene and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it doesn't end in terms of, tying up all the little knots.
Okay.
But it doesn't not tie things up, if that makes sense. It's not a traditional novel ending. And I was like, well, it's self-published, so maybe that's my only tiny little knock against it. But it was such a good book and such a fun read that I was like, I don't even care. Let's go. So I enter into book 2, and it feels like it just keeps going. And I was like, I'm sorry, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still enjoyable. So I was feeling kind of weird about it until I was told that the first 3 books are kind of one book split across 3 books.
Oh,
And
that
then
makes
the
it a little
second
bit more.
3 books are the same way, and you actually move locations. And then the next set of 3 books you move locations and again. And so that's sort of how the series is structured, which is a really old-fashioned kind of Victorian way of doing things, which
Sounds
I love, because traditional publishing would never allow something like that. So I love that self-publishing allows even just a format change for readers who, can handle it. And like I said, the first book was so good that I literally did not care that the ending just kind of stopped.
And it was just a hard stop.
Yeah, it was it wasn't a hard, it was aggressive, then I'd have been like,
You got the cliffhanger
But
and you were like,
it
well,
wasn't-
okay, I gotta keep going.
It wasn't even a cliffhanger. That's the thing. It didn't leave you off going, oh, I want more, unless you just really love the characters in the world. And so I did. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to read book 2. And then you start book 2 and it doesn't start. It's not revving up to anything. It's literally just
Continuation.
and last time on The Big Bang Theory.
And
you're
on
wait,
the last
what?
episode of Glee, and this is what you missed on Glee. Here
Yeah,
it is.
so it's great that I know that was intentional, because now it's just oh, okay, cool. But it's it's a shorter book, but I'm reading it more slowly because there are so many viewpoint characters at this point. Because the first book, he was very careful about that. He waited until about more than halfway through the book before he introduced a random, before he introduced a viewpoint from a character that wasn't already on the page.
Okay.
And so this book, all bets are off. He's just we've been doing this long enough for you to recognize that all these characters exist. Get over it. And you are always in someone else's head almost all of the time. You don't get as much of Jason's perspective anymore.
Who's the main character?
Who's the main character. And I think that's interesting because you see him through other people's eyes.
So you get to see his actions as other people see his actions.
Yeah.
And his characteristics and his viewpoints through another character.
Yeah, and I still love him so much that I'm good with this. But if you have doubts or don't really like Jason's character, or you don't trust him as much, it's easy for other characters' viewpoints to sort of alter your thinking on him. So that's just, to me it just solidifies all the things that I thought I knew, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense, or yes, I can see why that character would think that, or that kind of thing, because I just really like this character. So, it's going well. I want to point out, however, 2 pieces of media that I recently saw. Yes, they are popular.
Okay.
Yes, plenty of people have gone to see them, and one of them made $140 million in the first weekend.
Are you talking about the 2 movies that I thought you were talking
animated
about?
I actually have a few things to mention afterwards that I forgot, but continue.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to plug those, even though they don't need it. One is the Dungeons & Dragons movie, because it needs a little bit more love
Is
than
it
the
good?
other one. It's so good. In the sense that, okay, it's good in the sense that Hollywood is infamous for taking I'm Looking at You Warcraft movie and you Assassin's Creed movie, taking a famous, particularly video game property, but in this case Dungeons & Dragons isn't a video game, but it's gaming.
It's still a property.
Yeah, it's a property that doesn't easily lend itself to the Hollywood formula of storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that they were taking this and making it into a movie, and then they cast some big names, and I was
they
just
did
like,
cast a lot
I
of big
really
names.
don't know what I'm gonna think about this. The trailer seemed kind of cool, but I was still kind of like, I loved it.
Okay.
It's a basic. If you love Ocean's 11s but thought you needed a dragon or two, That's what you're gonna go watch. And literally, that's it. Like, it's not straying from that formula at all. It's not trying to twist it or break it or anything like. It's just adding dragons and Chris Pine.
Well, of course it needs to add Chris Pine. We love Chris Pine.
And Michelle Rodriguez, who, for my
Yes.
money, was the best character in the entire movie. And I'm not the only person to say that. So,
What kind of character does she play?
she's the barbarian.
I'm already
right?
sold. Lady Barbarians make me happy.
Yeah, she's a barbarian. Fantastic. Just amazing. Brilliant. Love her for that. And anyway, great.
Is the other one the Mario movie?
The other one is the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I think is superior, far superior to D&D, but also, again, not something that makes itself easy to tell in a Hollywood animated feature.
What I love is that Jack Black made his Peaches song.
Oh
for
my
the movie.
God.
He made it into
So
a whole
good.
music video. And, are you ready for this? That could be submitted for a Grammy.
Okay, first of all, deserves it. Second of all, I will say this unequivocally. I tried to not say it as much as possible at first because I was kind of skittish about it. But having thought a lot about it since then, Princess Peach is easily the best female animated character in history, period. Bar none. You can name anybody else, and I will tell you that they are a worse representation than Princess Peach.
I agree with you, but also I think second, if we're going to go through the same franchise, Daisy.
No, I mean like in the movie.
Okay, in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
Because
Like,
they
what they
basically like
did
threw
with-
part of Daisy's like personality onto her at that
Yeah,
point.
what they did with Princess Peach in that movie should have been impossible because of how the machine of animated features works. But she did something that no human character who is a female in animated features has ever been able to do. Usually they're a pig or a cow or something. But she did it without being a pig or a cow or a mushroom person. She was an actual human, and she's an actual female,
And she was
an actual princess. Like, they sidestepped so many bombs, and I'm so proud of them for that. I know. I'm hyping Hollywood.
I
but
literally
love
asked
that
my parents
movie.
we should go see that movie this weekend. So
You really should. So this is me telling all you people who haven't done it yet, do it, because it's so good and so worth it. So anyway, I'm going to talk about what I'm playing when we get to the topic. Because
Yeah, that's where I was going to
So,
segue.
anyway.
Last episode, Tony mentioned the Stormlight Archives. So do you know what I'm reading right now?
Are you reading? You're reading Way of Kings, huh?
I am reading Way of Kings.
All right. I'm still at I'm still at chapter 2, which I haven't.
I'm on chapter 8.
Okay. How's it going?
You mentioned like a while ago that so one of the things that I've noticed is, and I think I've mentioned this to Tony before, is that a lot of what's going on in these like first 10 chapters or this like first area doesn't line up with each other very well. And Tony mentioned to me, which I'll mention out loud to the audience and Grant, is that Brandon Sanderson wanted to do like 10 different prologues, and so he experimented with that with the first 10 chapters, as everything is like a completely separate prologue, but it's all the same characters. From what I see, love Kaladin, who apparently everyone loves.
Yeah,
Love
that's what I've heard
Kaladin's
anyway.
character so far. His little like prologue chapters seems the most consistent to me, and I was way more invested in his prologue at the start anyways than the other character whose name is Shallan.
Oh, okay.
I was more interested in his, but not because of Kaladin himself. I was interested in his little character arc because the character that they were following for his prologue or his first chapter was not him. They follow a completely separate character.
Oh, is it the King Killer?
No,
The
it's
dude that like goes to kill on
Sen. It's
Seth.
no.
Oh, it's not Seth.
No.
Oh.
So there's Seth, who's at the beginning of the whole entire thing, and then there's later on one of the extra chapter areas is basically spoiler alerts, but he's one of the characters. They're about to go to battle, and you're following one of the newer soldiers. He's brand new.
Oh.
He is nervous. He has no idea what's going on, and I was fully invested in him.
So he's going to be like a major player in the book, right?
No. No.
Oh wow, Brandon is mean
So
in this
like
series.
he
Okay.
started the whole entire thing with like starting it off like, yeah, Kaladin was there, like the Seth section. He was there, but like he was like a secondary character.
Yeah.
Kaladin's very secondary at that point where you introduce Seth. And I literally made fun of it because I was at a birthday dinner and I went, Seth with a Z? Seth with a Z? Made fun of it for like a whole 10 minutes.
Wait, it's spelled Z-E-T-H?
No, it's spelled
Or-
S-Z-E-T-H.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so then we get to that chapter where he's in, and you're just like, okay. His name is Sen, C-E-N-N. That's the character that I'm following. And he starts the whole entire, quite literally the first chapter, like past the prologue section where they get into this whole, like, section where they're going like, okay, we're actually going to get into the story now.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. That's who it's following. It's not following Kaladin. It's not following Shallan. It's following this character who's brand new. He's a new soldier. All of a sudden, he's been recruited into this awesome, famous, like, battalion group.
Is that the Bridge 4?
No, it's Bridge 1. It's part 1 above Silence.
No,
It's
I mean
Stormblessed.
the group
No.
called the Bridge 4.
No. Bridge 4 is later on.
Oh, okay. All right. never mind.
So he's sitting there and he's like, I'm really nervous. Well, don't worry, you're in Kaladin's group who never dies. And that's how they're prefacing the whole thing. And so I'm sitting here thinking, great, not gonna die. I love this character already. He's new, he's nerdy, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's very nervous about the whole entire thing. And you get into the battle sequence and I'm fully invested because this character quite literally has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's like fumbling over everything. He's like jumping over bodies. He's like, oh my god, like and everyone's like pushing him to the center. So when they put up the shields or like the spears, he doesn't get hit because they're pushing him to the center because he's the brand new like newbie of the group. And they're doing all this stuff, and I'm fully expecting everybody but him to die. Like, that is what I'm sitting there doing. I'm fully expecting all of this to happen.
Because that's the typical what you would do for that kind of character.
Because
everyone would die. But
oddly
him,
enough,
and he has
this is giving me, and this is part of my segue into the next section. It's giving me Final Fantasy XII vibes, where the character Vaughn in Final Fantasy XII is basically he's a street rat. He doesn't know what he's doing. All of a sudden, he jumps into. He decides he's going to go steal something from the palace during this whole entire celebration so he can sell it and get money so he can become a hunter and get his hunter's license. That's what this character feels like. That's what Sen feels like at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like rolling with it. I'm like, I love this already. A lot of people hate Vaughn in Final Fantasy XII. But I absolutely adore him because I understand his perspective and what he's doing and his perspective to the plot. And this character does get Vaughned at some point, and I will explain what I mean by that in a second. But then all of a sudden, we get to the second chapter after the end of this battle where everybody's like fallen, everyone's to the ground, and you're like, okay, fine, whatever. And all of a sudden, we're in Shallan's point of view, and now I'm like, hello? This is a Wendy's? I'm not here for this. Like, I got all of a sudden thrusted into her part, but I'm fully invested in the battle right now, and I'm like, okay. And her character's nice so far. She's growing on me.
Yeah.
And it's not until so right now I'm on chapter 8, which is her chapter. But she's now growing on me as a character.
Yeah.
She's basically wanting to become a ward of one of the, like, I don't know if this person's like an ambassador or something, or like kind of like one of the counselors to like whoever's the royalty in whatever area she's in, because I don't know if Kaladin and her are in the same area at this point, so I don't know if they're part of the same kingdom at this point. I just know
Right.
that she's trying to become the ward of this person so she can learn from them, kind of like an apprentice.
Yeah.
And they keep rejecting her at every point, and she keeps coming back. And she's very resilient, and I really commend her for that. But I'm more invested in Kaladin now, who is the only one to wake up from his battle so far. And now he's a random slave, and they send him into your Bridge 4 section.
Oh, okay. Got
They
that.
send him to the bridge because they're all going to be sold as slaves. And he quite literally is like, we're in the king's army now. Like, oh my god, I can be saved. I can get out of this because I'm a part of this already. But nobody recognizes him, obviously. And all of a sudden the merchant goes, yeah, no, he's just lying. He's a compulsive liar. And completely, like, railroads him so he can't get out of his situation. And then the merchant says, like, a single line to him, and I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it made me so mad. Where he goes, yeah, sorry, they'll do worse to me as a merchant than they would for you as a slave, and then walks away. And I was like, I'm gonna flip a table right now. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna scream out loud. I did not, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at. But segue into our topic, I'm also playing Gotham Knights right now.
Oh, are you?
I'm finally getting around to finishing it because I have time.
Oh, you haven't fit. Oh, okay, got it.
Your girl, so if you haven't seen it already, we're talking about video games today. Hi! Part 2! Maybe this time we'll actually talk about our favorite video games instead of it being an art form.
Yeah, right.
That discussion has been had.
So,
Yeah.
So how I play the game normally, for those who don't know, is I am a completionist, but not really, in the sense that, like, I don't mind if I miss a couple things.
Yeah.
But I like to go around, I like to do the grindy bits. So I like to go out every single night and then not go through a story quest and then come back just to get better gear. I like to go do that. I think it's a lot of fun to go do that.
This game is designed for that, really.
This game is really designed for that. I
story
just now
flies by
started
so
a
fast.
certain Court of Birds.
You just started the Court of Owls? Girl!
Here's the thing, I'm level 18. I just started.
Oh. I just want you to know, they level with you, which I only found out
No!
second time playing.
They don't, because I started.
Not at first.
No. So like.
Not at first.
Yes,
but give
they
them
do level with you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I started it because when I got it, I was like level like 10 or 11, but I leveled up between them because I was not focusing on Alfred at the moment because they gave me this. Alfred's on a meeting right now. You can go follow Alfred, and I'm like, I literally don't care.
That one. Oh yeah.
I literally don't care, Alfred. I'm sorry. I do love you, but I literally don't care right now. I have this thing right now where my character is in the middle of Harley Quinn's weird theater of MLM schemes right now, and so I don't care.
Did you finish the Harley Quinn quest?
No. I'm doing all of them simultaneously, but each character has a different section that they're focusing on.
Yeah, I do that too.
But I accidentally started this with the character that I was doing the Harley Quinn stuff on. But whatever.
I've done that too.
But he's going to be finishing the Court of Owls because I'm invested with this, especially because they mentioned him by name at that point. I did the Harley Quinn, where she takes everyone to the theater. And she's like, I'm going to give you my MLM scheme thing, and then you go to stop her. And I hated that section, by the way. I really shouldn't have gone in there with Nightwing, but I did.
Have I done that section with Nightwing?
I went in with Nightwing, and it was very entertaining, because I started the whole entire Harley Quinn quest line with Tim Drake, which was a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more entertaining as Tim,
I think
to be
I've
honest.
done it with everybody except Nightwing, actually, now that I think about it. Because I always think of them as their character roles, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like Harley, like when you first see her, is the kind of character that Dick would pass off to someone else because he's like, I've had my Harley run-ins. Peace out.
No, to be honest,
she's beneath me. I'm going to go do something else.
It was an accident because I thought it was going to be like another one of those like random. So how it was started, because I didn't realize that the orange crime sections were actual missions, and so I accidentally ran in as into Harley's thing, thinking it was a criminal stronghold because that was the little icon that it gave it, and it was not the criminal stronghold I thought it was. Oops, because I've been doing it as Tim Drake, Red Robin,
Right.
Red Robin,
Yeah.
Red Robin.
Yeah.
And so I was doing it as him because I have Tim Drake is currently sitting on Harley. I put Mr. Freeze with Jason, and so I've been running around with that for a bit, which is very entertaining, by the way.
Yeah.
And then I just unlocked Clayface. And so I guess, hi Babs, there you go. For now.
Sure. Yeah.
For now.
Okay.
But that's because I just started Court of Owls, and I have Dick going in there.
That makes sense.
I did his Court of Owls, that first quest. By the way, they send you into a whole entire conveyor belt. Everything is on fire, and I hate it.
Get used to that.
Is that often in that quest line?
Get used to that. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
I was only lucky that they didn't have the thing going backwards at the time that I went through into the fire.
I will say this: the first time I played that, I was not ready, and I was really annoyed because I don't like when games do that. I do not like when games spring a mechanic on you that is so like there's nothing else in the game like it, and they just throw it at you with no prep, and you're just like, what? I thought I was playing this kind of game, and then suddenly
So you're talking
you
about
do
old Resident Evil 4 when they
this.
would do the random QuickTime events on you, and you were like, "Hello."
Yeah, it just really.
They took those out in the new one, by the way.
Yeah, that's a
in the
mechanism. that really
remake or
irritates me.
Yeah. So in the original Resident Evil 4, they had these QuickTime events where, like, let's say, like, you're sitting there and all of a sudden, oh no, Leon's foot is stuck in a dog bear trap. And all of a sudden he takes it out, and oh no, at the same time, here comes a giant rock boulder that somebody pushed down from the top of a hill, and it's coming at you. And so to get out of it, you have to QuickTime event. So you have to like mash buttons to get out. They took that out, which makes me happy because I hated that. But
Yeah.
from what I've seen, and I'm not entirely sure because I haven't really played much of Resident Evil 4 Remake yet, I don't know if they still have the little medallions. So there was this like mechanic collectible thing in the original Resident Evil 4, which I played, which was fantastic, where you could find random medallions, and if you got enough medallions by doing the most random things like sitting on thrones or like looking around specifically, you
Yeah.
could get special like things, and I don't know if they do that anymore because they're trying to make it like so you can pay money to get all that extra stuff, and I'm like, no, that takes the whole entire fun out of it.
That's really.
But they did keep in, which made me happy, the secret, it's not really so secret, the Easter egg part where if you're in the water and you keep shooting at the water in the lake, the monster will come up and eat you.
That's interesting.
But that's where I'm at in Gotham Knights.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm really
Yeah.
excited for, though? The new Fallen Order.
I don't.
I need to play the first one.
You need to play the first
You
one.
should. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, if Tony
So
could sit
wait.
through all the spiders.
Okay, Tony could not sit through all the spiders, which is why Tony has not finished that game. I want to, but I'm so tired of games with spiders. I can't do it anymore.
Jedi Survivor 2. Oops, all spiders. That's my
No,
favorite.
but okay, from the trailer,
It doesn't look like they're getting much
there are
spider.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm ready. I'm so ready for a Jedi to fight a
You know what would
dinosaur.
be more hilarious is if I realize technically somebody else is doing the score, but I think it would be hilarious if you go to the dinosaur planet and all of a sudden it started playing Jurassic Park.
Right, because if John Williams was scoring Star Wars and that would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. They're not going to do it, unfortunately, but that would be brilliant.
Brian, what kind of games do you like to play?
I was just going to ask that question.
I like all sorts of games.
Okay.
Okay, but that doesn't answer my question.
I like RPGs. Geez, what am I playing right now? Maybe that'll be something.
Yeah, what are you playing right now?
What am I playing right now? I don't even remember. Right now I guess I'm playing Dusk. It's like a retro boomer shooter, Doom-esque
Boomer
game.
shooter?
I only
What, do you like shoot boomers or like
See,
are you a boomer that shoots?
I only recently came across that term, and I thought it was a pejorative at first. I'm like, is it because it's like made for old people or something?
Oh, no, I get
But-
it. So it's like, do you remember the original Dune?
Doom.
Doom. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
The original Doom game.
Yeah, like where it looks like that kind of thing.
I never played it.
So the mechanic of it, I don't know if you mind me explaining.
No,
you
yeah,
can
if you want
explain. So it's like a 2D kind of dungeon type experience.
Also, it's basically just a dungeon crawler.
So when you're going through the dungeons, like you have to specifically like go turn around things, and then
Yeah.
everything kind of pops up, and it's very 2D. There's no like extra pixels around it,
Right.
Like the picture I just showed you, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the first FPS games.
Oh,
Doom.
okay. Yeah, first person shooters.
Dusk is not.
Yeah, no. This
Dusk
one,
came
this
out
one's
like
recent.
4 years
Yeah,
ago.
Doom is it? It's not the first because it's not Metal Gear Solid.
I think technically the first is Wolfenstein 3D.
Oh,
Although
okay.
the basis for like all those kind of came from Ultima Underworld, which was an RPG.
Oh.
And that was like the first.
First person shooter.
I don't know what you call it. Well, no.
No.
Just like the 3D environment and everything.
If you want the
gotcha.
Guinness
Okay,
Book of World
okay.
Records, it was the first first-person shooter video game to ever be made was called Maze War, and it was from 1973.
Oh. Well, there you
Oh.
go.
All right.
But yeah, Dusk is boomer shooter. Yeah, I was like, does it mean like
No.
it's made for old people? But yeah, it's just a term for that type of
It's
game.
term for that type of game, and it's probably like
Probably because stuff goes boom.
yeah. It's also
Oh, yeah, right.
But I'm wondering if
That's-
they're
yeah,
also calling it a
boomer
boomer shooter because it like the style of shooter that was around during like the 90s.
Which
Guess
makes,
what
which makes you
boomers
wonder, wouldn't it be a Gen
weren't-
X shooter? Then?
Yeah, right. It'd be a Gen X.
That would be Columbine, but that's a different.
Oh
That's
my god!
so
Why did I
bad.
just hear that? Why
Yes,
did
that
you
would be
say that?
it would be a Gen X shooter. Yeah.
so,
That's
yeah,
weird that they would call it a boomer shooter.
But yeah, Dusk is like a backwoods redneck version of Doom, where you're fighting, scarecrow creatures and wizards that are obviously not wizards, but grand wizards.
Do they have like Oh,
They have very obvious.
really?
Yeah, they do. Which is cool because you get to
You
shoot
shoot them, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's why they call it a boomer shooter. It's because it's a 90s-esque
Okay.
shooter type FPS game. That is literally what it's telling me on the internet.
I've just really been into.
Doesn't make sense, but that's what it's called.
All right.
I've just really been into that kind of retro thing lately.
Yeah.
I went back and played Hexen, which is made on Hexen and Heretic. It's the same series, but they're made on the Doom engine. However, it's more of a fantasy setting and a lot more focus on like melee weapons and stuff. That's really good atmosphere.
Yeah.
Do you have any older games from that time period that you really like, though?
Hexen that I just mentioned. Daggerfall.
Okay.
Arena, the first two Elder Scrolls games are really
I was going to say, didn't you say on a recent podcast that Morrowind is your favorite game ever?
It
Yes.
is my favorite game ever.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
That's a good
Maybe
question.
I played it at like just the right time, but
Sure.
I mean, it has a very different feel from the other Elder Scrolls games or from just other RPGs in general. It has a very alien feel, just the environment that you're in. Because Morrowind is like the homeland of the Dark Elves.
Yeah.
That's right. It's the Dark Elves.
Giant mushroom trees
Yep.
everywhere.
They're kind of big island nation.
And they've got spiders on that island, don't they?
I don't think.
Not until Skyrim.
The only spiders in Morrowind are like these dwarven robot spiders, but you should.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Those are,
Dwarven robot spiders are you don't see them until
deal
like
with those.
Skyrim. Like Skyrim, they're in there, but that's because Skyrim specifically has spiders as one of their like main normal enemies.
Well, Skyrim's everywhere. I mean, it has. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, and so like the Empire, who has a much stronger presence than the other ones, they're
Yes.
more of like a colonial. There's more of a colonial vibe going on, where they're infringing upon.
So they're colonizing at this point.
Pretty much, yes.
Right, but they haven't had enough power to really sort of take over.
even
Morrowind
though that
completely.
they're part of the Empire,
Right.
there's a very specific culture on this.
Doesn't the eruption of Red Mountain come after Morrowind?
This does, and I have a little beef with that because it kind of invalidates everything you do in Morrowind. But I didn't write the book, so
Because like Morrowind happens, and then I'm just getting into lore.
How does it invalidate it? That's
Well,
what
I get because.
No, go.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me because you're like the chosen one of you're the Nerevarine who is yada yada yada. You're the resurrected spirit of Nerevar who is the whole thing, the fifth house. Blah 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 blah.
You're a god, essentially.
The only actual gods that you come into contact in Morrowind turn out to be fake gods, and that's
Yeah.
another interesting part.
That's
of the world.
fascinating.
How they're mortals that basically built themselves up to be gods.
Yeah, no.
So it's kind of like the
that's
Talos effect, where like they
very
have like
interesting.
they like in Skyrim they talk about like how Talos was kind of like a human at one point and built himself up, and now all of a
That's
sudden
right.
he
Yeah,
becomes a
there's
god.
Talos who joins the canon.
Which-
yeah.
All of a sudden he joins the canon, and then all the elves are like, no, and they're very supremacist about the fact that these people who, this guy who came in and killed a whole bunch of elves, by the way, like came up and now he's been added into the canon, which is kind of interesting, but that's a whole other.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then Red Mountain explodes.
Yeah, that happens in. I mean, the first time it was mentioned, I believe, was in The Infernal City, which was a book that came out before Skyrim,
Okay.
which I'm not a huge fan of. Not only because of that, just because I didn't think it was very good.
Oh, the book. Yeah.
But yeah, the only problem I have with that is because like
It was
if this-
668 is when
The
it
year-
arose.
the year? Okay.
Yeah, 1E
Alright.
688.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm just like, why would an all-powerful, God set you upon this quest, only knowing that in a few hundred years everything would be wiped away? But
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not a master on the Elder Scrolls lore.
Yeah, me neither.
But
But I think at
I
that
really
point,
delved
I
into
think
more.
That's
by the
interesting,
time
though. Yeah,
Skyrim
yeah.
comes around, we are in 4E. So you have to So the first era is when Red Mountain erupts, and I don't remember when Morrowind happens.
Well, Grant says that happens prior to the eruption of Red Mountain.
yeah, it happens before Oblivion and Skyrim. I can't remember the exact. Because the main villain in Morrowind is trying to rebuild Numidium, which was a plot point in Daggerfall. So I'm not sure the time gap, but
Sure.
yeah, the game goes out of its way to kind of make you feel unwelcome in this place. Just in kind of the harshness at first of you have to slowly build up your
Right.
power.
Yeah.
And just like the populace is very unwelcoming. Like they make it known that you're that you're an outsider and stuff. And I don't know, it's just a very unique
Yeah.
location and vibe. And
Yeah.
Your girl is Googling when.
Yeah, that's what I was
Morrowind
hoping
occurs.
for with Witcher 2. So, okay, I bought the entire Witcher trilogy. Well, not trilogy, I bought 2 and 3 because 1 is in limbo somehow. I don't know, it's really weird. So, you can't buy 1 for any of the new systems, and you have to have had it for one of the old systems. But,
Red Mountain erupts before Morrowind.
I mean, is it the eruption that wipes out? I don't think it's the eruption that wipes out, pretty much makes the entire island uninhabitable. Which then, because in Skyrim there's the
Solstein.
there's Solstein and there's like the
refugees in
the refugees
Windhelm?
in Windhelm. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of.
So this is part of like why the lore gets
Okay.
really like funky, because like it has it listed as 1688 in the Skyrim, like Wikipedia for like when the Red Mountain erupts, but Morrowind takes place in like the third era, which by that point makes a lot like no sense because they're clearly really thriving in Morrowind.
Well, it's 2 eras
Maybe
later.
Yeah,
so
maybe
you could-
I don't know the severity of the first eruption.
I don't.
Anyways,
Yeah, no, I don't. All right. I've never.
All I know is that,
Okay.
according to ESO, which is the Elder Scrolls Online timeline, between the Elder Scrolls Online and Morrowind, it's like 742 years. And then between Elder Scrolls Online and Oblivion, it's 748 years. So by that logic, Morrowind occurs 6 years before Oblivion.
Okay.
So it occurs in the exact same time frame. So you could just imagine both of those happening at the same time, and all of a sudden this guy goes,
Well,
"Yo, I need you to go find my son and turn him into a dragon."
There is an Easter egg in one of the expansion packs. I can't remember which one, but there's like an old guy who's like seeing into the future, and he's seeing like visions of Daedric gates opening and everything. So that's while they were working on Oblivion.
so they were really trying to.
They were kind of
push-
hinting towards that.
Oh, yeah. Huh. I've never played Morrowind.
I have not yet.
It's. I will admit. I'll be the first to admit it's kind of janky,
Well,
but
yeah,
you just kind of have
but
to
that's
embrace the jank.
If you've
Yeah.
ever played Oblivion after playing Skyrim,
I did.
Oblivion is janky.
Yes.
But it's only because you've played something where they basically they made Skyrim to debug Oblivion.
Okay.
Which that's my feeling. Maybe they did it to make a great game, but I think they did. I mean, obviously, Skyrim is still 11 years later huge. It's ridiculous that it's been
You
able to
could play it on
be
a
that way.
Samsung fridge at this point.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've been able to do with that game, and I applaud it. There are people who are like super.
Just come out with the sixth one.
Yeah, I know.
Let
people are
them
annoyed
release
and cynical about
Starfield,
it.
okay?
I'm not
They're
even
releasing-
excited for Starfield.
I'm not.
I
really
am.
either. But they are releasing Starfield this year. They have a date. It's in August.
I'm excited
or
to see
September.
how well it plays up against the Outer Worlds, which is so.
That's Obsidian, right?
So Obsidian, who created the first Fallout, like the first 2.5 Fallouts, and by me saying 2.5, I mean the first 2 and then New Vegas. 3 and 4 specifically, but that's the products for context. Obsidian, at the time I think they were Black Isle, but both of the, it's interchangeable at this point between the two of them. New Vegas, so they made 3, and then Obsidian was going into, I think they were going to bankruptcy at that point.
Oh.
They were exiting the building at this point. They had sold their IP to Bethesda. People were happy with 3. I still think 3 is okay. I think the story could be longer, but whatever. And they were like, hey, can we have one more rodeo with the Fallout universe? And they were like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. And they gave them 12 months or something to come up with something, and that's where we get Fallout New Vegas, which, ironically enough, is a lot more entertaining and fun than 3. But, whatever.
I will brag. Back when it came out, I always said that was my favorite, and my friends made fun of me because they thought the third one was the best. And now that's the main.
No.
Now the popular opinion is that New Vegas.
I played 3 first. I got bored, and then I played New Vegas, and I had a blast. I got bored with 3 very, very quickly.
I quit 3.
3 is more like, it's too gray, and I find this a lot with Fallout 3 and then Skyrim, which both
Skyrim is in no way gray.
No, so if you look, so how
Skyrim is gorgeous.
Yes,
It's
but
the sunsets are unbelievable.
Let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the world of Fallout 3 is very gray, and that's just the engine. It has a blue, tone to it, and that's why I'm saying it's gray. I'm not saying, there's no color. It's that there's a gray, film over it, kind of. Well, in Fallout 3, it's more green, but it's gray.
Yeah.
In Skyrim, you kind of, depending on where you're at in the world, have that same effect. So if you're more in the snowy areas, it turns into a bluish, grayish
There
kind of
is
filter
that in
overtone
the snow,
onto
yeah,
it.
in the snow,
And
yeah.
that's what I mean by it's kind of gray. And I spend a lot of my time, because I am always in the Winterhold area. It's gray. It's gray, but when I go to Falkreath, it's different. But when you're up in that area, it's gray. I literally had to turn on a saturation mod for Skyrim to be able to make myself enjoy it more, because it wasn't saturated enough.
You're spending all your time in the wrong area of the map.
Do you guys have a favorite city in Skyrim or anything? Or?
Yes, even though
My opinion's controversial.
Okay.
Technically, it's Riften, isn't it? Yours,
No.
of course, is Riften. It's not Riften.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate Riften.
It's not Riften.
I do everything in the world to avoid Riften, which is actually quite easy, which is why I like the game so much, because you don't have to ever go to Riften for anything, which is great. I think my favorite will probably always be, and this is dumb because it's the main city, but
Winterhold? Right, Whiterun?
Whiterun. I love Whiterun. Whiterun has a great vibe. It's homey. I always buy a home there.
Live, probably.
Yeah, so that's always my home base, even if I end up choosing to attack it. That's the other thing I love, is the Battle of Whiterun. Fighting against Whiterun is so much fun.
Don't you wish there was a way that you could rebuild it after it gets ransacked, or you defend it? Because
it's still there.
No, it's still there, but there's certain things that are broken, and they stay broken, and I wish we could go ahead and fix them.
There's a mod for it.
There is a mod. I do have the mod in there. I have over 200 mods in my Skyrim.
I don't know. I also really like Solitude.
Which one's Solitude?
The capital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Solitude's beautiful.
Yeah, my opinion's very controversial.
It's hanging off a cliff,
I think from a design standpoint, my favorite's probably the one to the far west. Is it Falkreath? Or what's the one built out of
My favorite!
Markarth?
It's Markarth!
Markarth.
Yes.
See, I was gonna say
I wouldn't want to live there because of the hostility of the lands around
That's
it. and
why
stuff.
it's my favorite.
That's why
It's
it's
cool.
my
It's cool.
the hostility I was gonna say that getting to Markarth is my favorite part of the game. So what I will usually do if I know I'm going, if I just want to hike for a bit while playing the game, I will literally armor up. I'll take one of my little. Sometimes I have my house Carl, sometimes I don't, and I just fight that woman in the bar, and then we go out.
Janessa?
No, in Whiterun there's I forget her name. Is that her name?
Janessa.
Oh,
She's in the Drunken Huntsman?
Yeah.
Or is it
No.
Uther?
It's the girl in
Uther.
armor, right?
Yeah,
and then
it's-
she's
The one who's in the Drunken Huntsman.
Is that her
Not
name?
the Drunken Huntsman,
No,
but
it's
the
not
White
Drunken
Mare.
Huntsman. Yes, her.
Yes, okay,
Her,
yes.
I always think of her as Xena. So I take Xena, and we go on our way, and we just fight everything. We fight bears. We fight, anything and everything. I avoid the Dwarven ruins because that's a whole, like, just doing the Dwarven ruins can be a whole
It's a
thing.
whole thing, yeah.
So we just go, and when you get to that whole area,
It's gorgeous.
fun. And like the definitive edition has, or deluxe edition, whatever they're calling it, has this new thing where there's a group of, so this may not be new, but it was new to me, and I was like, what is this? So that early in the game, super early in the game, not quite when you first get to Whiterun sometimes, but usually like the second time you go into Whiterun, there's this group of
Are you talking about the Red Guards?
no, the cat people. The
Khajiits?
Yeah, the Khajiits. I've done the Red Guard thing. It's not as interesting
I hate
as it should
that one.
be. But the Khajiit there's a little encampment of Khajiit, and he asks you a question about, like, some poison or something or whatever. And so if you follow him up on that, you end up going on this incredible mission. But you really have to be leveled up to do that mission, because those guys, I literally was like, all right, I'm gonna take them on. And I was attacking from a mountain. First of all, they can see incredibly far. It is ridiculous. So as I'm climbing down this mountain, I get shot twice in full armor, and I'm dead.
Yeah.
So then I dodge. I'm good enough. I send out my little Atronachs. I think we're doing well. First of all, they took on a full Frost Atronach with one punch, and I was like, "This is
It's not a good omen.
no." And I was like, "Oh my god!" So it was really I had to pull out all of my game tactics to win. I cheated, not cheated, but I shot from behind rocks. It was ridiculous.
I think those are some of my favorite game quests where it starts with a simple interaction with some random person, and then it blossoms into this whole.
Can I talk about my
adventure.
least favorite quest in this whole entire game?
Sure.
Meridia's quest.
Now, which one is Meridia's quest? Remind me. Is that the one where you go down into the?
So Meridia's quest spawns no matter what you do, unless you don't take the thing. But when you reach level 13, whenever you go to finish up, and it doesn't matter what quest or dungeon you go to, it'll always be in the same, whatever dungeon you finish when you hit level 13, the first one you finish after you hit level 13, it'll be in that
Oh.
chest. You get a beacon. And it is the one Daedra quest that I will avoid from now on. Even though I do love the sword, I will avoid that quest until the day I die.
Is that the one where she requires you to kill people?
No.
Which one is that? It's is that the assassin?
That's
Okay.
Boethia's probably.
okay.
But so Meridia's quest is you get the beacon, and everyone who's ever played Skyrim ever and who understands this quest will join me when I say a new hand touches the beacon, and then you groan in just almost I hate it here moment. So she makes you go up to Solitude where her little shrine is located, and you put the little beacon in the shrine, and she takes you up to the top, and then she rants to you about how a necromancer has taken over her tomb because she's the Daedra who hates anything that is undead.
Yeah.
If we had a Daedra who was probably the most closest to an Aedra, and Aedra is basically your gods, and then Daedra is technically your demons, unless you are a dark elf, and then it's the opposite.
Well, yes, because.
But she's like, I need you to go in here and you have to clean it out. And you can say no, but she'll make you do it anyways because that's just how she is. So you go in there and then you have to fight the necromancer. But the necromancer has a staff of ice storm.
Yes.
And no matter what you do, he will send it and you will die in one strike.
But you know what?
But you want to know how I beat it?
I got him.
Do you want to know how I beat it?
How did you beat him?
So I do two options. And so I basically, you know how everyone complains about the sneaky sniper
Yep.
archery person. So I have that, but I put that on crack. So so here's what I do. The first thing I do is I wait on Meridia's thing. So if I see it in the box, I'll leave it in there and I'll come back for it later until I get the perk that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
First thing I do, and this is whenever I start a game, is I go to Whiterun. And when I go to Whiterun, I go talk to whatever the court mage guy is, and I buy Muffle. I buy Muffle.
Oh, and then you sneak up on him.
No.
No?
No. So I built up my illusion, which is the muffle spell. So I will wander around Skyrim, and when I'm doing my normal quests, I'll instead of fast traveling, I commit myself to running everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I like the little interactions that you can get, and I will cast muffle every single time, until my magic runs out, and I level up my muffle. My illusion. So once your illusion tree hits level 50 in that illusion tree and you've reached that far up, you get a perk, and it's called the silent casting perk. So whenever you cast any type of spell ever while you're sneaking, you get it. Nobody knows that you're there, so it's like you're doing the super secret sniper arrow, sneaky arrow archer build, but you're doing it with magic instead. And so what I do is I build that up, and at the same time, because I don't want to stay, in Whiterun for long, I go up to Winterhold and I start doing the Winterhold quest. So I'm building up my whole entire thing this whole entire time. And so once I finally reach that point, what I end up doing is what I end up doing is I get it up there, I level up enough so I have Firebolt and Fury. And so what I do is I run myself into the thing, I get the perk, I have Firebolt, I have Fury. And when I get to that point, so I do two things. One, I use the Fury spell on him, and if sometimes it might not work, it just depends on the level that he's at the moment, because Fury is like a leveled perk, spell. So if that doesn't work, I cast Firebolt at him, and then I immediately shut the door and I walk all the way up to the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
And then I sit there at the top of the stairs, and then he'll go back down, and then I just kind of sneak shot him for a bit until he's low enough.
Yeah.
And then once he's finally, so he comes up with a second form after you beat him the first time, which is a more ghostly form, but he doesn't have the ice storm on him, and then I will come out.
Then you can, yeah.
And usually this means I have to control my character's companion, because I always have a little pack mule with me, and most of the time it's either Mercurio from Riften, or a lot of times it's, who do I normally take around with me right now? I don't remember their name. Oh, Volstagg from Markarth. He is a one-handed mace guy, and I take him around.
Okay.
Because I usually have some type of tank support, because I'm usually the sneaky mage character or the archer.
I'm a wizard.
But
then I just
I've actually changed my style, so now I'm more of the one-handed, sneaky sword and magic character instead of the archery. And the only archery I have is I level up my conjuration and I get conjured bow, so I don't have to carry a bow around. And that's how I beat him, and that's like my least favorite quest, but I have it down to a science now.
You know what I did? I resurrected I used my save for this, so because I was like, I have to have a technique, so I developed a technique. His people are easy to destroy.
Yeah.
And because I just went through a necromancer dive, you have all this I had gotten to a point where I could use necromancy, which was really weird, in a very rudimentary way. I usually don't do that, but I was like, all right, fine. So I resurrected all of his dead goons as he came through the door. They all mob him. And then I threw a frost atronach in his face. They fought it off. And then I bum rushed him in the room with my companion, and we attacked him and it destroyed him.
It was Karjo that I had with me the last time. Karjo's one of the Khajiit characters.
Oh yeah, he's
one of the Khajiit characters. If you have a quest and you see him around, usually I find him around Dawnstar area, because I usually go at level 10 to go do the Night Caller Temple quest to get what's the Dark Elf guy who's the priest of Mara, who's actually not that bad, but I hate him anyways. He's the priest of Mara. He's technically one of the priests in that area.
Oh, him. Yeah, I haven't done it.
Veramina's quest in Dark Caller Temple, whatever it is. And so I usually grab Karjo, because Karjo has a quest where if you go find a moon amulet that a group of bandits took, and it's usually pretty low level bandits, but if you go get it and you bring it back to him, you can take him around. And so now that poor Khajiit caravan is out of a tank, because it's me now. He's walking along with me, and so I snagged Karjo, and because I have multiple follower mods, because I refuse to just go around with one person. I usually have Stenvar because I'm around that area, so I'll go down to Windhelm and I go buy him for 500 gold. And so I have 2 tank characters instead of 1, and I don't have to lift a finger, which sounds conducive because then you don't level up as much, but because of the multi-follower mod that I have, occasionally when they level up in a skill, you also get that level up, and so, I just end up leveling up myself.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
If this whole episode was unintelligible to some people, sorry, not
It's because
sorry,
you don't
I
play
guess.
video games.
Yeah, it's because you're not
Play
cool
video
enough.
games. Play Skyrim. Play Gotham Knights.
Yeah, as a last button, I just started playing Hollow Knight the other day. Hollow as in a hollow log, not
No, yeah.
Hallow as in Deathly Hallows, because I can't pronounce words for some reason. And I only just started, so I'm getting used to it. But I mean, it's a platformer. it's a platformer, but it's not a platformer. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but I like it so far. I have to literally dive deeper because it's like one dungeon from what I'm seeing. So you'll see what happens. I've fought a couple bosses. They were fun, and I don't know. We'll see. Anyway.
I saw that you have a thing, and I saw you laugh at it.
Yeah, the first one I discarded because I don't know any of those people on there, and there's 3 people, and I'm like, this is dumb. And they're not people that anyone would know, so I'm like, why?
It looks like
The
my
father,
handwriting,
the
so I
son.
probably know who it is.
What?
But the Father, the Spirit.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no. And no, it wasn't your handwriting. It was Batman's handwriting. So,
Fair.
would you rather secretly love a book everyone else hates, or secretly hate a book everyone else loves?
I would secretly hate because I'd be loud and proud with something that everybody else.
Yeah,
Is it-
I
yeah.
like that option too. I feel like
I'm the opposite. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm pretty annoyed when people dislike something that I love. Although I have had tendencies to secretly love authors that people hate because I find that I don't know. Like, for example, every time people get all, sanctimonious, and I'm going to use this word even though I don't actually have a problem with people who are woke or who identify as woke. Actually, maybe I do. But wokedom is something that I'm more aligned with, I should say,
No, that's fair.
than not. But I'm really annoyed when people are like, get all in a huffy and they're like, that Tolkien was racist, right? And I'm like, I know that you haven't read a single thing of Tolkien's except racist anecdotes from Lord of the Rings, which, by the way, they exist.
Fair.
They're in there. There's a whole page in the Fellowship that I'm like, oh, stop writing. Just stop. When he uses words that you're like, this wasn't even fashionable to use in the 1950s. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? So, yeah, okay, it's there. 1, it is not the thrust of the entire story. 2, it is not the thrust of his entire body of work. And 3, if you've ever read any of his essays or letters, which you can find in copious amounts because Tolkien fans are redunculous and most of them are scholars, so they found, not most of them, but a lot of them are scholars, and so they've dug up all of this stuff. It's all there. It's all readable. You'll know that his intentions were not what you would consider racist, even though you would certainly consider them elitist. I would say that he was certainly a proud elitist, because he genuinely believed that, there should be a king upon the throne and all that kind of, he believed in that kind of social order stuff. And that's something worth quibbling over, and that's something worth, sort of arguing with him over. But, so sometimes I get a little, less flagship about Tolkien, because I'm going to have to hear some irritating brat who has not read or who doesn't know how to read tell me how wrong I am. I had this recently with someone who, got all mad because, I won't say I stepped in it, but I certainly maybe accosted someone for saying something nasty about Brandon Sanderson, and I was like, do you even read the internet? What's wrong with you?